Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Pixel Sift. And you can support the show, which is always something I'm sure you're all very happy to do. When you're there, you can pick up over 180,000 titles, and you can listen to them on your iPhone, on your Android, on your Kindle, on anything you want, really. Basically, the world is your oyster. Hello and welcome back to Pixel Sift for another week. My name is Gianni and we are here with my co-hosts Mitch, my co-host Scott,
hey.
And we're also joined this week by Ash Ringrose. He's from SMG Studios based over East. Ash, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Very welcome to have you here. And look, we're going to be talking a little bit about your game a bit further on in the show, which is called Death Squared, came out on Tuesday. But for now, though, what other topics are we checking out?
Yeah, so with all the controversy regarding gambling and gaming over the past year, you'd think that some of the industry would be giving it a rest, but a new player, Rumblemonkey, is now ready to shake up the scene.
Entering the arena.
That's also, T. Martin, I'm looking at you. Behave yourself.
And finally, we'll be taking a look at the marketing side of online influencers and what happens when they touch on controversial territory.
All that and more coming up on Pixel Sift episode 65. We've also got some good announcements as well, so stick around with us. We will be back with those at the end of the show.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
So there's a new application or service called Rumblemonkey, and it is allowing gamers to bet actual money on the matches they play online. They're focusing primarily on Hearthstone, I believe, to begin with, and it allows players to pretty much wager against each other in the online space.
This is really interesting for me because this type of wagering is sort of something that is, I was explaining this to Scott earlier today, but it's very similar to what you do when you play the Australian game, the Australian tradition of two-up. Basically, you find someone and say, Mitch, I go to you and I say, hey, I want to play you against you in Hearthstone.
Yep.
$1, I'll put in $1 and you put in $1 and whoever wins gets $2.
Yeah, you're going to win. Your Hearthstone deck is a lot better than mine.
Well, we'll see how we go. But basically, that's the premise of the thing, that you can kind of have this multiplayer platform where people are doing sort of ad hoc, person-to-person. I guess is it peer-to-peer gambling? Is that the way that we're kind of describing it? But yeah, this platform has kind of come out and is being very heavily promoted. Had a really big showing at, it looks like at PAX East as well, which was the most recent PAX, which was in Boston on the weekend. What do we think about this particular platform, and do we think it's going to make a migration down to Australia?
Well, it's almost like a prize pool kind of situation, isn't it? It's not really and I wouldn't call it gambling in the traditional sense. It's like you're not really placing bets on the outcome. You're kind of wagering against your own skill and someone else's skill. That's how I interpreted it.
So it's not really a pool, but it's kind of like a two-person pool in a way, I guess. That both people put in. And you're basically going against other people.
Yeah, well, like, how is it different from like paying an entry fee to a tournament, for example?
What? How is it different to gambling?
Yeah,
it's very different.
Like, is it?
I don't see how this is not gambling. Like, it
seemed like it was more. It would seem like it was more between the two players involved, but I might be interpreting it wrong.
Okay, maybe, and I might be wrong as well. I might be jumping the gun, but I feel like, because they are very quick to say that it's legal and it works. But
legal asterisk,
yes, okay.
Legal in a couple of places in the United States.
This is a very important part of it. It's illegal. It's legal in a few places in America, which is 50 little countries basically smashed together. So illegal in Australia. Like, I don't see how this is possible in Australia. Like, we have the in Australia anyway, we have the Interactive Gambling Act in 2001, and that basically regulates all online gambling. And although it's possible to do that here still, it's not from Australian companies. So it's all offshore companies, and basically Australia kind of just lets it happen because it's obviously really hard for them to do. So that's the only way it would kind of run here, is if it was... I think of it more like, say, Uber. It kind of runs in this grey area where everyone knows it's sketchy and whatever, but for some reason Uber just still stays around and it's dominating the globe. There was a similar kind of dark web-ish kind of this website called Silk Road where you could purchase all sorts of dodgy sorts of drugs and stuff like that. Also running in this kind of grey area where that's totally kind of illegal, but they're running legally, and that got shut down. I think this will be more like that and be shut down eventually, because it just seems like it's taking the mickey a little bit.
It may not even make it here to be shut down.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Ash, I'm wondering what you think about this particular platform coming out. I know you said you've got a few kids. Would you be wanting to keep this away from your kids? And is this the sort of thing that you'd probably be discouraging them from going towards?
Yeah, no, I think I want them to spend their money gambling the Australian way at casinos, right? And
yeah, exactly. They need to get through those lockout laws.
The 100% legal way in Australia is to use the pokies and the. It's quite interesting because we're a developer. We've actually been hit up twice by Gamblit and Cash Play, and these are more mobile-based gambling wagering platforms where they've asked us like, add this SDK like a software bit of code to your game and let people bet on the games that we have, and we kind of shied away from it because it's gonna, you don't want to mess with Apple and Google because doing something like that, and it just becomes just a bit dodgy, like it's anytime even if it's just little bits of money like $1 and $2, there's going to be people out there. $1 or $2 is actually a lot of money to them, and you're going to get people scamming other people, and it's just not on. I think. I did joke about casinos and pokies, but at least you can be physically barred from those places. I think internet's a much harder place to kind of bar people who have problems with gambling, and that's maybe one positive reason why we still have. We've banned internet gambling, not because there's so many powerful casinos in Australia.
Sorry, Scott. What I think is really interesting about this is this, to me, seems like it's perfectly primed for money laundering. Like, if you want to get rid of a bit of cash, stick a couple of people playing Hearthstone and let them lose their matches. Let them do it convincingly, pay them a little bit of money. Interestingly enough, Tab Corp, which is one of the big gambling outfits in Australia, just got fined $45 million today for not preventing this money laundering. I just can't see the US authorities letting it, or the Australian authorities kind of letting it get past that point.
No, you're 100% right. Especially with the Ash, when you mentioned the kind of risk of, illegal activity jumping into it, any kind of gambling or anything going on where money is getting kind of accumulated and won is going to be rife for exploitation. And I think that's a thing. And another thing on top of this, like, we already have quite a huge problem with gambling in Australia. Like, it's a bit part of our culture. I mean, we're a bit like that. We're a bunch of rebels who drink too much and spend too much and smoke too much and whatever. But like, over 80% of Australian adults, gamble in some way or shape or form, which is the highest in the world. Like, we don't need this. America, sure, maybe they can have it, but I cannot see this flying in Australia. For many reasons.
Well, look, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who, try it on and see what happens.
And they'll figure it out. There's always going to be ways, because it's an internet site, so the people are going to be able to access it. It's probably more for us, up to the games and the networks that they're played upon, to filter this kind of behaviour out.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens with this one. I guess this is a very developing story, so we'll definitely come back to this one here. But for now, though, let's jump into.
I think before we move on, I think just if anyone needs help with gambling-related issues, I think you can visit sites like Gamblers Anonymous Australia. That's gaaustralia.org.au if you need any help there regarding that situation.
Lifeline.
Lifeline also has a service that is they have specialists also that deal with gambling problems as well. So.
Good point. Glad we stayed with that.
Do not be afraid to.
Can I add one small anecdote? I met someone who works at a pokey company doing the software, and they said they have AI in the software that determines, based on how hard you press the button and how fast you press the button, it adjusts the payout ratio so it will hook you better, because they know that you're a noob pokey player, and they'll up the payout. And then when they determine that they've got you hooked based on, you press, the hardness you press, they adjust the payout differently.
I did not know that.
Yeah, look, so it's like, I always knew there was like an out, obviously the house always wins.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize they were getting so kind of sneaky in that level. So I think I'm one that goes in, just puts one bet on a roulette, anytime I'm at a casino just for fun. But I know that, it hurts a lot of people. So getting that into video games, it just feels like, come on, is nothing safe,
Yeah, so I think that's I get that out of here. Anyway, to finish off that, the gambling helpline is 1-800-858-858.
And that's if you're in other countries, obviously just give it a Google. There's plenty of help out there. I'll tell you what, you can't get hooked on, or maybe you can get hooked on. It might destroy your relationships, but Ash's game, Death Squared, which we will talk about in 1 second. We'll be right back.
Pixel Sift!
It's not Pixel Sieve, it's Pixel Sift.
Pixel Sift!
Ash Ringrose is the studio head at SMG Studio. Now, Ash, you had a game come out on Tuesday, Death Squared. I know I heard in a GCAP talk that you gave at last year's GCAP that you were kind of wanting to get the perfect balance of getting it right, and it came out on Tuesday. So for people who haven't seen it, what is Death Squared?
It's a co-op puzzle game, and you can play it single player as well, where you basically guide coloured bots to their destination. I like to say it's more like a 2D or a really accessible version of Portal 2. And we have a bunch of levels, and it's basically the way you play. When you play co-op, or you can play single player with the two sticks, everything you do kills the person you're trying to play with. So you basically have to cooperate and coordinate with each other to not kill each other while you're solving the puzzle.
We played quite a bit of this last week.
Yeah.
We played 4 players on 3 controllers, which was an interesting experience as well. A lot of friendship was tested in those moments as we try to work our way through the puzzle. One of the things that kind of really captured me, and you did sort of bring it up there, was that the Portal element, and something that I think that Portal and this game does really well is the balance between failing and being able to restart. How do you find that balance between making it sort of tricky enough so that people want to keep playing, but not so tricky that they stop playing?
Yeah, that's a big credit to Pat, the main designer and the kind of the person that came up with the idea. He wanted that instant, as soon as you die, instant restart. So, you're not really penalized for the death. And also keeping the levels quite tight and small. So, you don't want to get through, 27 different steps and then die and go, oh, I just can't be bothered doing it again. They're all nice and, little tight little puzzles. And, and if you die, okay, well, I can do that in the next 30 seconds again. So there was definitely a few levels, and we've got them in the vault, where they just became too long, and they weren't so much hard, but just more like laborious. And so that was the big craft. That was the majority of the time was crafting the levels and tuning them. And I know Pat was tuning the levels down to like the last couple of days, tweaking them, making them more obvious, or more intuitive is a better word. So yeah, it was a definite conscious effort from Pat and Hamish doing the levels.
Now, one of the recommendations you gave to us when we was playing the game was to get other people on board to try out, people who are non-gamers.
Yeah.
Who breaks first? Who, starts throwing controllers, starts chucking a hissy fit? Is it the people who have played a lot of games, or the people who are sort of new to the experience?
I think it's just based on your personality, really. Like, if you like solving puzzles, then it's more about, it's whether you can communicate. So, the person who is not really a gamer might just be really good at puzzles, and the person who's a proper gamer is like, more a first-person shooter person. So I think it's down to like how well you work together. I like to say it's like putting together IKEA furniture without the instructions. Everyone's put furniture together, but sometimes it's just like, is that the right one? Is that it? And you get halfway through and you're like, oh, I've got to undo it. And then the other person just says, look, you go, I'll finish it off. It's the person who doesn't, just doesn't have the patience.
One of the things I was wondering about as well with sort of the non-gamer audience is that, and you mentioned this as well in the GCAP talk when you were talking about launching Thumbdrift, is you're pitching it to people who aren't gamers, maybe are not super familiar with the sort of the visual language and the design language of games. Yeah. How do you teach people how to play this thing if this is the first time they've played it? Maybe they're over at a friend's house and someone just hands them a controller. Yeah,
that is been the best part of this game is the introductory levels are so easy to understand. If you can move up, down, left, right, you can play this. And so we've shown this a lot. We've basically been to like almost every PAX in the last 2 years, and we just hand people a controller and say, work as a team, and that's all you need to know. That's probably the biggest thing, is most people are used to, oh, 2 people, I have to beat this person. Other than that, everything else is really intuitive. So we just have to tell people, you play as a team. And that was probably the biggest hurdle, because a lot of these party games, it's you one versus one, one versus everyone, free for all. There's not many games where we actually work together. So that's probably the biggest hurdle there. But really, it's very clean visual in terms of, it's very obvious what you need to do. And the levels kind of guide you. We basically didn't put any text in there saying, other than the voiceover saying, all right, get to the circles. And that's all you need to know, is just repeat that process. And the discovery of each level is kind of the fun of the game. We don't want to tell people, watch out, there's spikes, and spikes are bad. You learn that by dying.
When you're kind of getting people to sort of play this game, what are some of the things that you've kind of learned from people who aren't gamers? Like, what are some of the feedback that you would kind of come across? And I'm also interested as well, because you talked very heavily about sort of the car culture for thumb drift and moving into there. Yeah. What are some of these things that people tell you that you just don't see because you can't see the forest from the trees?
There wasn't too much. I mean, I know Pat and Hamish, we did a lot of beta testing, like just getting people in every Friday, game students and stuff, and just watching people play. And I think it was just making sure the levels didn't paint you into a corner where you had to kill yourself to restart the level. So there's a lot of times which is very subtle, and you only notice it if you're one of the team. It's like, if you push a block here, the block regenerates, or you push a block into a corner, when you move, another block will push it back so you can keep moving it. So we didn't want you to get to the point where you go like, oh, the only way to finish this, the only way to proceed is to kill ourselves. So that was probably the biggest one, is just watching people, where people get stuck and going, okay, if we add an extra block there, we can give them a way to go around that without making the puzzle easier or harder.
You kind of describe SMG games as well as sort of like a skunk works as part of Soap Creative, where you do a lot of sort of ad work and a lot of client work for people.
Yep.
Where do you want that balance to kind of sit when you're making this? Do you want to be making games for the sake of making games as a independent studio, or is it more enjoyable to be making work and doing good client work?
Well, yeah, because Pat, Ilya, Mark, Lee, a lot of the people from SMG, I've worked with those guys for 6, 7, or Hendrik, 6, 7, to up to 10 years through Soap as well. So I think SMG was, for us, a way to... Sorry, that's my toddler playing Hot Wheels cars. SMG was our way to explore new ideas without the confines of a client brief, and, own our own IP and do some more, smaller games, riskier games, and just have fun. So I think if you look at our portfolio, we've got a tower defense game, OTTTD, One More Line, like a one-touch twitch, Thumb Drift, a car game, this one a puzzle game. It's very eclectic, and I think that just reflects that we've got a whole bunch of ideas and we just want to make cool games. We definitely, besides the One More series, everything else is kind of a different genre, and because we just love making games. And I've made 200 plus games over the span of 15 years at Soap. And I was just thinking before we jumped on, I was like, my first game was like back in 97 or 96 when I worked graveyard shift at Kinko's. We're all making Flash games. So it's just fun to do things where you can explore new ideas without the risk of, okay, this has to sell the ice cream or the deodorant. Can have a bit of fun with the games with minimal graphics and just pure gameplay.
If the balance shifted and, say, for example, SMG wasn't as fun, is it as fulfilling to be doing these client briefs and building innovative and interesting things for people on a contract basis?
It depends. Like, we did Risk with Hasbro, and it's a different dynamic when you're talking to, like, a global company. Hasbro's, and we're doing a thing with a film studio now as well, where you're dealing with the people that they own the brand, they live the brand. With Risk, we meet the Risk brand team, and these guys live and breathe it. Like, they're heading out to Essen, the board game thing the week after, talking to us, and they know the brand back to front. And you're like, oh, it's so refreshing talking to, and they have an entrepreneurial spirit as well. So I think we're kind of spoilt now. We've had this success with SMG, which has rekindled my entrepreneurial kind of tendencies. We're working with global brands and other people that are really invested in the whole game scene and love it. So I don't think I can really go back too much on that. It's, we're kind of a bit more choosy now on the game side, because it's like we just want to work with people that are excited as we are versus, okay, well, that's going to pay well. And right now, the SMG stuff for us is, being quite successful. So it's rewarding in that sense.
It's a very good spot to be in. Now, Ash, if people want to find out a bit more about your game, it's out now. Where should people go to check it out?
You can go on your Xbox, your PlayStation 4, or Steam, or just go to deathsquared.com, and we've got the links there. Check out some of the reviews and stuff. But yeah, if you're interested in if you like puzzle games, or you're a kind of a curious type person, check it out. It's a very original game, and also if you got your grandparents that you want to connect with, or you've got kids that searching on the Xbox and PlayStation for games to play with my kid, and there's not that many there. A lot of them are violent and stuff like that. So it's one of those games that you can play along with them. It's not about kicking your 7-year-old's ass in Street Fighter. You get to work together.
Even though that is really fun.
That sounds so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun for the first 2 times, and then when they're crying, you're like, "Oh, this is no fun."
Yeah, but then they'll come back, Ash.
Yeah, you might be a gamer, and your partner's not a gamer. We want to try and encourage that. And I keep saying to people, like, if you get your grandma or grandpa, or stream online with your mum, because that would be great. Because I think it would just be proof that we have succeeded in the game design that Pat set out for.
Definitely a very fun game. We played a fair bit of it, so you can also jump over onto our social channels as well and see the first 20 levels of that. Right now, though, let's jump into our next topic.
You're listening to Pixel Sift, or you might be watching Pixel Sift on Twitch. Pixel Sift.
So recently we've had a few online influencers get into a heap of trouble for their views expressed through their extensive channels and networks. Big-time YouTuber PewDiePie, for example, with well over 20 million subscribers, was recently dropped by Disney for some inappropriate anti-Semitic views. So, our final topic for today will be looking at the extensive marketing power of these influencers and what happens when these influencers and their viees and opinions go roguish.
Ash, you used influencers in the car communities for Thumbdrift. What does this sort of? How does this sort of make you feel when you're kind of linking up with these communities and you think maybe one point they might go rogue?
Oh, I have multiple. My views change like daily. For me, I think some of these people forget that these are just normal people. We get. And same with we're the game developers, and we get people telling us we're shit, and we're the worst because they didn't like our game, and you email them back saying we're just people, what's your problem? And I think sometimes the media kind of likes to hype it up, and the media makes a lot of money on page views. So for them, if it's a controversial kind of someone's done something naughty, or hey, I think we can hype this up, they just want it for the page views. And so I think they're there to hype it up and make it blow everything out of proportion. And I think a lot of times, humor is hard. Humor definitely needs context, and humor is hard to get across in just text. And I think a lot of these other guys aren't media trained either. So for them, it's just hey, I'm a person and I'm just saying funny stuff. Versus, I think a lot of celebrities will get media training, and it's like, well, I can't say that because the studio has told me I can't do that, so it's too risky. So it's I don't know. For me, I think these guys just, and there seems to be a lot of guys, just get the rough end of the stick because things just get blown out of proportion.
I think you're basically on the money there. This is the sort of feeling that I generally fall down on, in that these people have kind of grown up with the medium. These are usually young people who I've been praised for being kind of raw and authentic. And sometimes things are a bit too raw for some people because they have a different context. Obviously there are some things that are going to fall, they always talk about the pub test, and some things aren't going to pass the pub test. But yeah, I think this is this situation where, people are just people and they can say silly things. And sometimes if you've got 70 million followers, that means a lot of people see your mistakes. So.
Look, the internet is not the place to make inside jokes. You know, if you think it's something's a bit vague or it's in a direction that could offend specific groups, do you know what? It's going to offend specific groups. Like, I can't see them being surprised about this, especially in the age of PC culture, which, you know, these kind of people would say could have gone too far. But I just think it's...
But you know what? The internet is built on inside jokes.
Absolutely.
So much
but you
of
have to
community
understand that if you
and-
do your inside joke on Twitter, then you're going to have a divide between your followers who some people are not going to give a crap about it at all and just be like, oh, whatever, he made a joke and it wasn't that funny. He probably went too far, whatever. Then you're also going to get the people that are going to be really, insulted by that. Then you've got the other people who are like, attack the people that got insulted, like as if they're wrong for, being, some politically correct minded.
It does seem that PewDiePie has made a reputation for being very out there and very random and very bodacious about the way he approaches comedy and how he approaches comedy without restriction or without bounds of traditional guidelines. And I think that's what people like about him as well. So that's also part of his strength. And I think he maybe just played to his strength a little bit too much this time.
Absolutely, and I agree completely with that. And that's what I mean by, like, being careful about making inside jokes and, offending specific groups. Like, your intentions can be misconstrued so easily, especially when you're doing text-based communication. So, if you're going to be out there and throw it into somewhere where it can be misconstrued and taken out of context, then don't be surprised when it backfires.
I think there's a really interesting sort of, there's two sides to this. And these people are they're influencers and they are very valuable to a lot of companies. They are something that some people are being kind of used by those things for their influence and for their the community connection that they have. But when you kind of tie that up with them being closely connected to a brand, brands are obviously going to be generally more conservative than Joe Blogs. They need to think about the broader thing, but the person who's making the content or whoever's doing whatever doesn't need to, because they have their audience and their audience gets it. And I think this is where this situation sort of arises. And, Disney, for example, where it was talked about cancelling deals with PewDiePie as part of some of the things he did. They jumped on his brand because they thought he was a valuable person to attach themselves to, and maybe didn't do the full due diligence in order to work out exactly what his brand was.
Yeah, that's more of a bad play by Disney than PewDiePie, even though what he did was pretty wrong and a bit over the line. But, it's like you said, Disney's fault for not doing the research, I guess.
I'm curious to see whether it would have been a big deal if Disney hadn't dropped him, because it seemed like the reason why this story kind of annoyed me a little bit is because people seem to be making a big deal about this only because Disney dropped him for it. Like, if Disney had just maybe kept him on or didn't sign him in to begin with, I wonder if this would have even been that much of an issue, because there are more ballistic things on the internet that more famous people have done.
Well, that's kind of what Ash said. Once the media got a hold of it, they really kind of blew it apart and, it almost gave Disney no choice but to act upon and do something about it, kind of thing. I wish we had a little bit more time, because there are a bunch of other really good examples away from PewDiePie that are probably more fitting to the topic, just not as big scale.
Ash, just one thing I want to ask you before we sort of head into the final bit of the show. What is the value of an influencer to you as a studio, and what sort of, can you put a specific dollar value on it or give a ballpark?
I don't know if it's a dollar value, but I think what they bring is a connection, almost like a one-to-many connection. A lot of these people feel like they're friends with these people, and some of them are. Whereas I think if you look at an ad sitting somewhere, it's just a disconnected piece of content. I think influencers, it's almost like your best friend saying, "Dude, check this out. This is great." And I think that's what they bring, that kind of personal friend, word-of-mouth recommendation. So they're supremely powerful these days. It's the influencers, it's the let's plays, it's people saying, a personal recommendation is much stronger than, for me, like a review these days, and so, it's very powerful. And it is a bit risky when you think okay, this person may go, not even, I wouldn't say go AWOL, but it's just there may be some bad press around them, but I guess but I think you guys hit it on the nail when you're saying, you get them because they have that audience, they have that connection, they have a personality. And I'd much rather and these things will blow over as well. You know, a lot of the times, you know, I don't think they're mean-spirited in any way or hateful. It's just they get blown out. So the value there is that, you know, you're getting to their audience is expecting that kind of raw level of honesty, and sometimes it just gets blown out. So it's hard to put a dollar value on it, for sure. I think as long as for us as SMG, we try to build relationships with a bunch of these people, and you know, you build that through doing quality products versus just having to pay people all the time.
Yeah, instead of just jumping on the bandwagon like Disney did and then getting upset when, you know, their milk's all spilled.
Hey, we don't know that Disney jumped on the bandwagon. Maybe he sat down with one of the Disneys and, you know, had a cup of tea and they had a good conversation about the future of brand marketing and using person-to-person personal recommendations.
Pay money to be at that meeting.
That's all we've got time for today. So, Ash, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We are on every week. This has been Pixel Sift, episode 65. We have a website where we're going to be sticking up some links to all of the stuff that we've been talking about today, so you can find a bit more context about what we're going on about, including links to Death Squared, where you can go and check that out. That website is www.pixelsift.com.au. Mitch, we've got other episodes as well, don't we?
Yes, they can be found on our website or on Pocket Casts or iTunes. And if you can give us a star
Google
rating
Play, Stitcher,
Yep.
a bunch of other ones. Anyway, you can get it. We've also got a bunch of episodes on YouTube as well, Twitch as well, wherever you want to watch or listen to something.
All the things.
Scott,
Yeah.
we've got a bunch of social channels and some special announcements, do we not?
So we've got our Facebook, Twitter, Twitch.tv and YouTube channels. Do check them out. But, you know, also, if you need a little bit more midweek pixel sifting action, you can head on over and check out the improvisational gaming comedy podcast, Lame Storming. In the most recent episode, episode 12, our very own Mitch sits in to spin some comedic yarns while the boys test his podcasting loyalty. And if you're in Western Australia, don't forget to come and check us at Oz Comic Con Saturday 25th of March at 8 p.m. Once again this year, we will be hosting a live show from amidst the amazingness that is the con.
Yeah, thanks Ben and Trevor for having me on. That was really fun.
And at Oz Comic Con, you can chat with Soph Mather, Hien Pham, and Oscar Britton. And we will be on at Saturday at 5 p.m.
That's the one.
See you there.
Peace out.
Bye.
Thanks, Ash.
Bye.
Pixel Sift is proudly supported by Audible. Audible is an online audiobook service where you can pick up over 180,000 titles. You can get a free trial. You can listen to it on your iPhone, your Kindle, your Android. You can listen to it probably on your microwave, anywhere you want to listen to it. And the way to get a free trial is to go to www.audibletrial.com/PixelSift.